Hi Arafat, how are you? Well, right now I'm going to explain you a little bit how to understand the part of scaling different objects in scene and how you can try to adjust them to be like completely precise in that point. So we're going to return back to our scene that we have in here. First of all, the first exercise that you can do is to create an space that it's like completely in scale 1 to 1, so that you are having the proper scaling of the different objects. So for doing that, the first thing, we can go to customize and then to the unit system, and in there, in here we have, well, in this case I think that you have configured the 3D Max to use in millimeters. So in this case I prefer to work with meters because it's a little bit more precise to the part of adjustment and everything, and also we're working with architectonical placements. So in this case what we will be doing is to adjust to the part of the meters, and the next one what we will be doing is to work with these elements. To know that it's in the correct scale, we can create a cube or any other type of object. And for example, we're having the length of 16 centimeters, 30 centimeters, and finally 1.8 meters in this case. If we take it, we are having the match with the window in here, so we can understand a little bit the proportion. This space is a 5 per 5 and also the height of 2.5. So, but how can we work with this one? In this case, we have a grid that it's always here in the software, that we can adjust it. If we check here below, we can see that the grid is 0.25 for, in this case, 25 centimeters each one of the different. What we can do is to adjust the dimensions of this element so that we can understand a little bit how the scale is going to be applicable in this case. So if we go to the tools section, then we go to grid, and we click in the grid and snap settings. We click in here, and then we can see that we got the home grid. In this case we can adjust the grid spacing, that in this case is 0.25 each 0.25 centimeters. In this case we can adjust it to 0.30, or maybe we can do it to 1. And in this case, the major lines between each one of the grid, we can do it that it's going to be each 5 meters, and the perspective view extent, that it's going to be to 50, because we're going to have 50 lines in each place. So as you can see, it was adjusted in here. It was already adjusted, and then we have each one of these squares is approximately measuring 1 meter, each one of them. So we can understand a little bit how to adjust the view in here. So another thing that we can do is that it can be 0.25. So with that, we're going to have each square is going to measure approximately 0.25. Yes, in here. And then each major line is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, each 4 lines, so that each meter we're going to have 1 meter lines, and also we're going to have 25 centimeters each one of the different grids that we have in here. So we can work a little bit with this one, but I'm going to leave it like this. So we know that it's 0.25, so we're going to have 50, then we're going to want to have 75, and like that. And now, how can we adjust our object in here? As we know, we can select it and then use the proportion or element in here, but also what we can do is to try to adjust it in here in the view, and then we are understanding that approximately our sofa is going to be measuring. We can go to this view so that we can check it out a little bit. If we take it in here, we know that each one of these squares is a little bit bigger than 1 meter, but that's a little bit like impossible. It's not like adjusting properly to the scale. So we can just try to check for an armchair dimension. And we can take any type of measures. We can also try, if we check for the model that we're searching, we can know, like, we're searching, for example, I'm going to take this model. I think it's a little bit similar to that one, so it's measuring 62 per 72 and 75. So what we can do is here in our model, try to adjust those dimensions. So if we have 25, 50, and then we have to calculate approximately that it should be like going slightly over here. So our height should be adjusted a little bit like this. That this is the first dimension. So we're having 25, 50, and then it's going to be 75. So I'm going to adjust it a little bit more so that it's going to fit in here. And approximately we have, okay, it's 75. So I'm going to adjust it again. I think that in there is going to be matching properly with this element. We're going to get it distorted because of that situation. And now the next element that we should measure in here, 72. So for calculating a little bit, it's like this. And if we try to take it in here, we have approximately maybe the 72. It's a little bit bigger because of this element that we got in here. I think that like this is going to be the position, and then the next element that we will be adjusting will be the height. That also we will have it over here. We have 25, 50, 75, and 1 meter. So we're going to check in here, and the height that we have is also 75. So we have to adjust it into this height. So also what we will doing is take it a little bit down and take it over here, and approximately it can be like that. It's only to be like approximate, to give like that certain. So we have our measures adjusted to those elements in here, and then what we will be doing is to take it in here, and as we can check, it's in proportion with the space. We can take it like in here and then adjust it a little bit in here, over here, and as we can see, we have our proportion applied into the scene. And now the next step, how can we calculate for this wall the proportion into the different objects? This also is like a night trick that we can do. We understand that we have a 2.5 meters height in this point. So the next step that we will be doing is to calculate in this case, but also it's related to basic measures, which is the measure in this case of a brick. So the measure of a brick, if we try to search it, there are many varieties, but in this case it's like an English brick, it's a conventional one. So we have approximately 90 millimeters, or it's 9 centimeters approximately. So if we have 2.5 meters in here, we're going to calculate it. 0.09. We should have approximately 27 bricks in here. So we're not going to be counting them, so it's going to be like a slightly calculation in here. Oh, I think that approximately we have the approximating here, so it's like a calculation, and also it's related to proportion, so I think that it's like well proposed in this point. And now what we can do is just give like the certain adjustment. As we can see, well, it's in proportion, it's looking too small, but it's because of also the space. We did not have it like adjusted to the complete environment in here, and also it's looking a little bit empty. So what we can do certain adjustments. We can just add another object in here in our scene, so that we can have a little bit more of dimension that we can have in here. Okay, I'm going to just copy it to be like an instance, and then I'm going to rotate it to the contour side in here. And also, well, we have it like this, and we can try to adjust our objects by using the grid in here, or also by using an element in here as a solid. And we can give also that adjustment in here by checking the complete image that we got in here. So that's how it's going to be working like that. You can also give adjustment to the part of the textiles, and also to the metallic objects, and many other type of textures. But also what you can do is, in this case, we're having in this case the length of 0.03 and 0.03, and also height 0.03, but it's because of the small square that we are adjusting in here in the image. Also, another thing that we can do to adjust the texture, it can be by using the UVW mapping. You can use these different type of parameters in here, or also if you go to the material editor, in the slate material editor. Okay, once it's open, I'm going to check it. Okay, we can select our texture. I'm going to select the wall texture one. Once that it's selected, in here, if we select our brick texture, we are going to see that we can adjust the diffuse mapping in here. If we go over this section, we can see that we have the size that it's 4 meters per 4 meters. We can adjust it to be 1 per 1, and then what we can do is to adjust the scale of the object in here so that we can give the proper scaling to the different patterns in this case. So you can try to also adjust over here, but also you can use the UVW mapping so that you can give the proper scaling to the object.